then I started understanding we make all decisions from a place of fear or trust. And if I can start trusting the process, if I can teach my clients to start trusting themselves, then we're going to get somewhere. And so I started applying how I was talking to myself to my clients. And that is what I call the 6 simple rules now.
I'm really excited to be here today with you, Kim Shapira. This is going to be really easy and really fun. And I really just want to start with you. And will you walk us through your health journey and how that led you to be who you are and do what you do?
Yes. And the image is like changing in my mind. It's so interesting, but I'm 53. And so we go way back to the beginning. And when I was younger, when I was 12, the year was 1986. Top Gun had just come out.
So good.
July 4th weekend, and I got sick. I ended up having a stomach ache that did not go away for months. And it ended up that I needed to have multiple reconstructive surgeries. There were 8 people who had been born with my problem before me. And so it was really kind of like figuring it out as we go.
Just to pause for 1 second. So in 1986, when you told your mom or dad or whoever that you had a stomach ache, what were the initial reactions and how, like, is it appendicitis? You'll be fine. You have gas. Like, what was going through their process as your parents, because you were young at that time before you got to the, reconstructive surgery stage?
So we were in Laguna and like, I thought I had like a gas pain. So I went, my parents like tried to go to the bathroom, like very like normal. And I think I kind of fell into the toilet. I was like, I'm not okay. But I was so young and quiet and shy. And
it's like weird. It's not like pleasant to chat about.
Yeah, but with your parents, you're like, I have a stomach ache. And they're just assuming it's like either your period or gas pains. I hadn't had my period at this point. So it wasn't my menstrual cycle, but it could have been. And so that was the next thing, is that when they started bringing me to my pediatrician's office that following week, there were 6 pediatricians in their office, and I ended up seeing all 6 of them. And each one said, she's just got really bad PMS. Go home, put a warming blanket or, a warm pad.
A hot water bottle.
One of those things, and give her some Midol. And so I really just spent a lot of time on the couch with a heating pad and
taking Midol.
Yeah, taking Midol. And that was in July. It started. And by the time school started in August, I could not sit. Yeah, I couldn't sit still in class. I was in so much pain.
What kind of pain was it?
I could
pain
say
or
it's like
pain?
menstrual period pain at this point, just across my lower abdomen. At the same time, I had like a hard knot in my stomach that was growing. It was all just really confusing. I didn't end up I didn't change doctors until October of that.
So you're still with your pediatricians?
Still with my pediatricians. And then at that point in October, it was just, I couldn't sit still. I was in so much pain. I like literally, the only thing I could do was take a bath or stomp my feet. Like it was unbearable. And so I ended up going to see different like OBGYN gynecologists, specialists at UCLA. And 2 of them stayed out of retirement. Like it was like a big deal because nobody had been born that they had ever seen with this kind of defect before. And they really didn't know what was wrong with me or what to do with me. And
they did all sorts of testing,
all sorts of testing,
and
all sorts of theories. I remember my sister, who is a few years older than me, she said, if you can't have kids, then I'll be your surrogate. And so we made that deal when I was 12. It was really sweet. But it turns out I did have kids, even though they said I couldn't, which they didn't know. So I ended up going to doctors often. So I spent about from October until April of the following year in and out of doctors' offices at UCLA.
And you're in 7th grade?
I was in 8th grade.
8th grade.
I missed a lot of that school year. I can't believe they even passed me, which is really interesting.
Different time.
Yeah. But I was like scared, and hospitals are terrifying. And I remember, this is so embarrassing, but I remember I had to have an enema.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to an older man, and he said to me, they're really, really painful.
Oh, that's such a terrible thing to say to a little girl.
It was. And I ran away and I hid. And then they had to like coax me out of the stairwell.
Oh,
and it turns out it's actually worse for men than women. So if anyone's listening to this and has to have one, apparently it's a lot worse.
Aren't that bad. I mean, as a grown-up, they're like, clean me out, you know?
Right.
But as a kid, it's all, I mean, it's putting something up your tush is not fun.
Right. And then holding it there.
Yeah,
it's not a
good thing.
Yeah, right. But it's funny that core memory there. But there were lots of those kinds of moments. And so as I was driving to UCLA often, my mom and I used to spend the afternoons going to Bullock's in Westwood. And like that would be what I could look forward to.
For those of you who didn't grow up in LA or West LA or have never heard of Bullock's because you're not 50 plus.
So sad.
It was such an institution of like fashion department store specialty. It was like the first, I think, of its kind almost. And it was like this special place.
It was so
to go with your mom and get a red or just look. I mean, it was a really
a bow, so
big deal. Yeah.
But what would it be compared to now, in your opinion?
I think it was a precursor to like a Barney's maybe.
Interesting.
Or like a Bergdorf's, but it didn't have that same fanciness. You know, I don't think it was elevated in the same way because it was the 80s.
Yeah,
so it had like maybe Neiman's, but it was very specific. It's hard to even explain. It was like a one-of-a-kind like department store.
It
was so great.
I loved it. Yeah.
It was a treat.
Yeah, and it gave me a place to put my mind. I got to think, well, I was in discomfort being examined or talking to my doctors. This is where I get to go after. And it was such a safer place for my mind to be than to be in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was it. I just ended up going and having multiple surgeries and then going to UCLA throughout high school and really creating a fierce shopping addiction. Really looking forward to the Nordstrom annual sale or yearly sale and writing all my papers on what a cash register sounded like,
What was your college essay about? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was about a game of poker.
Okay.
Playing with the hand that you were dealt.
Okay.
And no matter what the hand is, it could be a winning hand.
Got it.
What was yours?
I think mine was about my mom being sick. Mine wasn't that strong compared to what my kids are writing now. But mine was about my mom being sick and sort of family dynamic changes, I think. And then I think I tapped into a little bit which was really before my time, about the psychological effects of how you live and on your body and on a woman's body. I think I sort of touched on that. I didn't know much about it, but I knew that was something I was really interested in.
Yeah.
And I spoke to that in some way. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, there were like
the shopping. I was wondering if you put in the shopping into your essay.
I'm sure I did. And if
you win at poker, you get to go to Bullock's.
I mean, obviously. I remember saying to my husband and my mom, all the money that I ever make is just for shopping.
Yeah.
All the money that my husband will make, he'll support the family. I'm like, oh my God.
What's yours is mine, what's mine is mine.
Right. And that's just not how it is. But that is what I thought.
But in your defense, you were very young.
Yes.
And, instead of getting a lollipop or going out for ice cream every single time, you got to go to this special place with your mom. And I totally understand that. And I understand, I'm sure you do, like why your mom did that and how it got you through it's not just that it was such an awful time and spending your adolescence seeing doctors and having surgeries and recovering from the surgeries and all of that. But at that age, as a girl, you're so disconnected from your body. Your hormones on top of all raging, your body's changing. It's a really tough time to try to understand what's happening to your body.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is quite interesting. And I'm so grateful for all of those experiences. Like, I do not think that I could be the person that I am, obviously, without that full understanding of spending time in the hospital. Even, my mom always laughs. I was answering the phone at the nurse's station because I was like, they just were my entertainment. I feel like I was there for weeks on end. Now people are in and out of the hospital quickly, thank God. But I was there forever, it felt like. Yeah. And it was a different time. I mean, the shopping was one pivotal moment, but also having a visit from a man named Norman Cousins really was one of the greatest gifts of all time.
Tell us about him.
He was probably in his 70s when I met him. I have to look that up because 1986, he had cured himself of an incurable disease by laughing. And Books on Tape had just become a thing. Mm-hmm. And he was sent to me as a gift. So LA.
Yeah.
And he sat on my hospital bed and he scared the crap out of me, really, because he was like old and I was young and I was alone. And he told me about positive psychology and laughter. And if you laughed for 15 minutes, you'd have 2 hours of pain-free time. Wow. And he really set me on a course of understanding how powerful my mind was, which is interesting that your college paper was on that topic. One of my favorite classes in grad school was on the psychosocial dynamics of disability, really understanding like how it affects us and, intertwines with everything. And I think at that point I had been such a victim. I had such a victim mentality, like why me? And then it changed after that when I started recognizing like, oh, this is actually something I've overcome and strengthened myself with,
Yeah. At such a young age.
Yeah.
You grew up really fast.
Really fast. Yeah. My siblings did not appreciate it.
So it's a really hard thing. I think about that all the time. And that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother book. But we all are so different. And even if you're in the same house and you're understanding the same things, we're all different. But sometimes how you treat and you deal with a hardship or a challenge or a conflict, your siblings at that age in particular can be very supportive in the way that they can at that maturity level or be really not.
Right.
And you're taking up, I would assume you took up a lot of your mom's time.
Yeah.
You took up a lot of, conversation time in the house and siblings can react really differently that way. And your parents can have a hard time with that too. Like now that we're both parents, I'm sure we can understand that better.
100%.
Like how do you manage that? But that's tricky.
Yeah. I remember coming home.
Tricky.
Yeah. I came home from grad school when I realized it and I apologized to everyone and, offered my sympathy for that because I didn't realize.
But nor should you have. I mean,
no, but
understandably.
I now appreciate it in a different way. And then as I'm even older and like what you're saying with kids is shocking. And to see it play out with my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Very sensitive to it all.
So tell us more about the shopping addiction and then how it played out as you moved into, kind of out of adolescence and into young adulthood and then adulthood.
Yeah. I never thought of it as a shopping addiction.
Okay.
And it was, but I never thought of it that way. People would say to me, like, you really shop a lot. And I would say, yeah, I like new things.
But were you like in debt? Were you maxing your credit cards or it was just the joy of even little things?
I wasn't like saving money. I was like not thinking about it because I just didn't, I was careless.
Yeah.
And I definitely like the reward of new things.
Yeah.
For sure. But I also like the experience of the air quality and the music and the way the lights are. And
it's done on purpose.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that happen while you're shopping.
Yeah.
And then when I was in high school, I was talking to a doctor mentor of mine and he said that food can make a person sick or healthy. And this was a new revelation to me. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. And this was like really late 80s, early 90s, that food could make a person sick or healthy. Mm-hmm. And since I was sick, then I had a chance of being healthy. And I didn't know this to be true.
What were the eating habits like in your house growing up?
I would call them normal.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people don't like that word, but it would have been, we had a walk-in pantry and I used to have play dates inside there. We used to just hang out inside the pantry. It was so comfortable. The water machine was right there. And a lot of my friends didn't have what I had. And they didn't have kudos bars or ding dongs. And so that pantry became a great place to sit and chill and hang out. Those foods weren't exciting to me because they were always foods. I had them all the time. So it just was a great place to be.
It's like 80s normal.
80s normal. I mean, I came home from high school
90s.
Every single day. Late 80s, early 90s. I graduated high school. Yeah, you're right. Early 90s. I came home from high school every day and I cut a head of lettuce. I made myself a salad. And then I would find my recordings of my soap operas on my VHS. Pray to God that they recorded.
And didn't record over something you hadn't watched yet. Yes.
Totally. And it was like 6 hours of recording because I couldn't set it.
Of course.
But I just ate a salad and then, we had family dinners every night. It was really normal.
Yeah.
I think my mom had some restriction in her life. And so it was just a non-issue. We were not going to be restricted. We never talked about it. It was a non-issue in my house. So we just had everything. And then to learn that food could make me sick or healthy really was what I decided that's what I was going to turn towards. If I was sick, I was going to use food to make me healthy. And I bet everyone else wanted to be healthy too.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think if you had a choice to be healthy, would you take it? And I can tell you, people will say yes, but they don't.
Well, I think especially if they haven't themselves or someone in their like real immediate circle have faced unhealthiness and true sickness, it's not real. It doesn't, it's not tangible to them.
Yeah, that's really fair. Yeah. So that kind of set me on my path is I was going to use food to help people be healthy because I just wanted to be healthy.
Starting with yourself.
Starting with myself. And, we know that we pick careers and spouses to help master our own emotional triggers. And so here I am, working on my emotional trigger of staying healthy.
Yeah.
Staying well. Yeah.
So what did you find when you went down the deep dive and what did you...
Oh my gosh.
Did you analyze the foods that you had eaten when you were a kid and maybe think to yourself, how did that affect me and my illness? Or did you sort of move on from that and start from sort of 0 day as when you started?
That's such a good question. And I feel like I really never unraveled it like the way you just asked it because I have not changed at all in the entire time that I've been in practice. And I started a practice because I wanted to have relationships with my clients. I didn't want it to be short term. And what I found in graduate school, and my favorite class besides the psychosocial dynamics was the epidemiology. And we read every single study. And I went to graduate school in Boston. All my internships and my experiences were in Boston. And that is the mecca of healthcare. And what I found at the end of every class on Friday was that everything in moderation. Too much is intoxicating and too little is ineffective. And it was really super frustrating that everything needed to be in moderation. And that is kind of like what I have stuck to because I believe so deeply in my core that is the correct answer. So it's not that one food is bad or one food is good. It's first of all, how you think about the food and the stress that impacts on your body and how strong your body is. I mean, I love the definition of strong or strength. It's immovable by any force.
Yeah.
And so having a strong brain, a strong heart, strong liver, strong gut, and making it immovable by any force, what's it going to take? And if everything in moderation and no food is good and no food is bad, then really meeting people where they're at and creating this bridge. And this took me a minute to figure myself out, so to speak. But when I first opened my practice, I put my clients on diets because that's what I was trained to do, right?
Yeah.
I worked in a hospital. You follow this diet plan. If you have this diagnosis, if you want to lose weight, this is what you need to eat. And really to get all the vitamins and minerals your body needs to support you. And I was so successful at helping people lose weight on diets, truly. I was like blown away that I was making people healthy, so to speak, in quotes. I'm putting that in quotes, okay? And one of my first clients, and I share this often because it's important, is she was a therapist. I was 27. She's probably was my age, 53.
Yeah.
She had been on every diet at that point. This is probably like 1998 we're talking. And she lost 30 pounds. She got off her medications for blood sugar problems and blood pressure problems and cholesterol problems. So we fixed and turned around her metabolic dysregulation.
Yeah.
I was doing so well.
Yeah.
And then she said, I'm going to gain the weight back. And I thought, why? We just got to this place of being healthy. Why would you do that? And now I felt like a failure. And she said, well, my husband wants to be intimate with me all the time. And I was molested as a child.
Ugh.
And I thought, okay, I really don't know the first thing about the people living inside of their bodies. And it's not about food, but boy, do we make it about food.
Yeah.
And then I started really connecting the dots to my clients are eating the same way that I'm shopping. I'm finding every excuse to get to the mall to buy something. And we didn't have the internet back then.
Yeah, thank God.
Right.
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah. My sister actually once told me that Nordstrom's had blacklisted me because I returned too often.
Really? That's such a sister thing to say.
So
such a sister thing to say.
So
and
bad.
You would believe it 100%. I totally get it.
So funny.
Totally get it.
Yeah. Really, that was the next moment where I was like, oh, I can't keep doing this because even though I thought I was successful, I'm actually really hurting people. And it's not about the food, and I have to teach them that.
Or you weren't really getting to know them as you said, as like a real client and their whole person. And what is the food manifesting or covering or, being used to replace?
Right. And then I started understanding myself.
Which is the best thing that happens when you're doing something you love.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that I had to help myself in order to really help somebody. I was too young to understand that. But then when I started to recognize what happens if I think about something to buy and I don't buy it, what does that feel like? What happens if I put it on hold and I walk away, and what does that feel like? And do I survive those moments? And when I was realizing like, wow, I am surviving these moments. And then I started understanding we make all decisions from a place of fear or trust. And if I can start trusting the process, if I can teach my clients to start trusting themselves, right? Nobody's starved, hopefully, my clients, and unfortunately some people have, but most people do not starve. And nobody has died from hunger that I'm seeing in this moment.
Yeah.
And so if I can get them to a place of trusting that the food is actually right in front of them or right next to them or 1 minute away from them, then we're going to get somewhere. And so I started applying how I was talking to myself to my clients. And that is what I call the 6 simple rules now.
So break those down.
I'm going to start with the first one, even though it's not one of the 6, and it's really knowing where your mind is. So I told you that we all have emotional triggers, and we actually develop between 3 and 5 in the first 6 years of our life.
Wow.
And anytime we go through something traumatizing, we develop a new one. And then we work on mastering those, meaning we're becoming resilient. We're noticing that we've become triggered and we're able to bring our mind back here, understand that we're safe in this moment. And so the first thing you need to do is actually know where your mind is. I have a simple game you can play, so we can do it now. So we can say, repeat after me, where is my body?
Where is my body?
And then tap it and recognize that it's actually right here. Say right here.
Right here.
And then you ask yourself, where is my mind?
Where's my mind?
And then now actually go find your mind. So go search for your mind. Where is it?
It's pretty much right here.
Yeah, because you're in this moment.
Yeah.
But let's say that you're thinking about, or you're in the kitchen and you're like, I was just in the living room. This is so strange that I'm now finding myself eating, right? It's your body followed your mind because some emotional trigger told your mind that food was a good idea. And so the more that you practice, where's my body, where's my mind, and making sure that your mind is in your body, then this kind of leads you on a path of being more mindful and eating.
Yeah.
And we could do the same thing. Like I could say to you or anyone who's listening, check in with your bladder right now and think about how badly you have to pee.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that almost everyone listening has no idea where their bladder is. But they're really able to connect very quickly to where their bladder is and to identify if it's an emergency or not.
Yeah.
And they recognize that the second they have a sensation they have to go to the bathroom, they don't get up and go to the bathroom. They actually think, how long until I get to a toilet? How long do I have?
Yeah.
Am I safe? And if we can start understanding that with the same thing can happen if we start paying attention to where our mind is, if it's in our body, and to say, oh, I think my mind is thinking about food because I'm hungry. And I know that I'm going to eat lunch in an hour, so I'm actually safe, right? So really putting the connection to like, I have the power to know where my mind is and why it's thinking food is a good idea.
Got it.
Yeah. Once they master that, they can move on to the rules. So rule number 1 is to eat when you're hungry. So hunger, again, is isolated to your stomach. So you have to know what your stomach and your body are feeling.
Yeah.
I ask everybody take their normal portion, cut it in half, and wait 15 minutes to see if they need more. So we've all heard of semaglutides or GLP-1s, and these medications, they mimic our natural GLP-1 that happens at about 15 minutes once we decide if we're hungry or not. And so if we put the food on hold and we trust that it's there, then we can decide if we need it now or not. And most people are totally satisfied at 15 minutes with what they've eaten, trusting they can eat again in 2 to 3 hours.
Got it.
Yeah. So rule number 2 is to eat what you love, but to make sure the food loves you back. So this one really fixes disordered habits and your gut. If you think a food is good or bad, or you should or shouldn't eat it, then this eradicates that thought, because now we're really paying attention to, when I eat this blueberry, which everybody says is a superfood and it's full of polyphenols and antioxidants, how does it affect my body? And then when you recognize that that blueberry gives you diarrhea and it's not loving you back, you can make a different decision and you can work on healing your gut. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. My youngest son, all 3 of my boys have GI issues. I'm sure they're very happy to know I speak about them all the time. But my youngest son, he had pretty bad GI issues for like 6 to 9 months. And one of the things we went through all the stages and all the testing when got his food sensitivities. And he's highly sensitive to a few things that he would eat all the time. I don't think he had these his whole life. I think sort of puberty and the testosterone rush has triggered them. But we were literally just somewhere and he said, I'm going to get that even though I'm totally going to have diarrhea afterwards.
Yeah.
And I was like, then maybe not. Don't do that to yourself.
Exactly.
I know you think it tastes so delicious, but let your gut heal. And I was like, let's just give it the summer to only eat things that make you feel good.
Right.
And not eat things that you know are going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
It needs to repair.
Right. And this is how we get into that place of trust. But let's talk about this for 2 seconds and then we'll go on to the next rules. Food sensitivities are temporary. They're not allergies. They come when your gut has been attacked by some sort of stress. And
correct.
That stress,
I can give you all the reasons for this. My child, he had SIBO. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then and the food sensitivities are heightened right now.
Yeah.
And I told them, like, this isn't forever.
But stress comes from physical stress, like pain in your stomach. It comes from worry and it comes from fear, right? Like I'm worried about the man walking towards me or what I'm going to eat for dinner next week. Those also attack our stomach lining. And again, we talked about strength being immovable by any force. And so we really, and I don't want to go into the science part, but I can if you want, on the lining of the gut. But food should travel down about 1 millimeter an hour, giving you a 24-hour transit time. Diarrhea is obviously a quick transit because your body is sensitive. And so the lining of your gut is the mucosal layer, and you can repair that by adding omega-3s. You can do that in the form of flax, chia, or hemp. You need to make sure you're not sensitive to one of those. Different fruits and vegetables, having a variety, ideally between 5 and 7 different ones in a day, 25 to 30 grams of fiber, ones that you're not sensitive to, and fermented foods. Those repair that mucosal layer. And, we were talking about a little bit about stress and the effects it has on your overall body, even before we started this podcast. And like that is the epithelial carpet. So if I always think of a digestive tract as a cardboard paper towel ring. And so right now we're talking about that inside of that paper towel ring, that hollow lumen, that digestive tract. The paper towels, that they're around the cardboard, the epithelial, and that is where your bloodstream is. And so between the epithelial and the mucosal are these tight junctions. And they become loose when you have any gut impacted. And when that happens, things that are inside your digestive tract leak into your bloodstream. And that can create mood disorders or, autoimmune disorders. And so we really want to heal that mucosal layer so it makes it immovable by blueberries or whatever the food is. Blueberries are one of the foods I'm sensitive to. So that's why I keep saying it. But it's fixable very quickly by adding those foods. And if you could remove for a short time the foods you're sensitive to, and there's lots of good food sensitivity tests. I love the Simply Sensitive one that you can get on Amazon. I love the Everlywell Either one are great sources. One, you do hair, one, you do blood. But again, they're temporary. And so you don't want to keep them out of your diet for too long.
Yeah.
And you said highly sensitive, meaning that if
like
they're
on the scale, there was like the green, you're fine, and then the bright red.
Yes.
And so we focused on the bright reds.
And so if you should, I think, focus on all of them except for the normal.
Yeah.
And so what that simply means, let's say milk is red. That means it's going to take longer for you to be able to have milk again.
Right.
That's all it means.
Right.
But if it's like the mild, then it's probably going to come back really quickly. You just have to solidify the lining of your gut, if that makes sense.
And what are your thoughts on using supplements to help? To help treat that, help bring it back to life.
Yeah, I mean, supplements should supplement, right?
Yeah.
Like they are a little bit of insurance. They're pretty powerful tools. They're not permanent. SIBO is, you would need an antibiotic, but there's lots of ways to make sure your pH balance is normal. He needs to make sure his pH balance is more acidic.
Yeah.
He's slightly alkaline right now, so he needs things like ginger. He needs to just make sure he's not sensitive to the foods. But generally speaking, we should be working on smelling our food and chewing our food longer than we think necessary. So when you smell your food, so if everybody thinks about lemons right now, and that thought should create a physiological response where your mouth salivates. And that saliva actually has enzymes that are going to help you break down the food, cutting down almost 90% of people who have digestive distress. And then chewing our food and liquefying it, chewing it a little longer than we think necessary, really breaks down the surface area and the fiber so we can absorb the nutrients. And our stomach can't break it down. All of the breakdown is happening from our chewing. And so like when you think about a gummy bear or a gummy vitamin, you chew like 3 bites and swallow.
Yeah.
We're supposed to chew like 15 to 40 times per bite.
Wow.
Right. And so that will really help the mucosal layer too, slowing down and chewing longer.
Okay.
Yeah. So rule 2 is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it really puts your body back in balance and your mind back in balance.
Yeah.
And then rule 3 is to eat without distraction. So we eat because the food is in front of us. We eat for emotional reasons and we eat for hunger, and really paying attention to making sure you're hungry when you eat. So like we all just figured out if we have to pee or not, we can figure out if we're hungry or not.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't eat while you're distracted. You need to first make sure you're hungry before you're eating, and starting with half. This will really help you be more in tune with your body. And then at that half mark, come back to eat without distraction. Am I hungry for the next half, or do I just want it?
Yeah.
This, I think, is the biggest deal is for somebody who wants to lose weight and keep the weight off. Rule number 4 is to get 10,000 steps. So I have found that a person has a really hard time maintaining their weight loss if they do not, or they are not in the habit of getting 10,000 steps.
Yep.
So we know scientifically that we need 7,000 to reduce our risk of sudden death and to decrease most of our diseases by 50%. But to maintain our weight, I think we need to be pretty active and we need at least 10,000. Rule number 5 is to get 8 cups of water. So this is a big deal only
How many liters is 8 cups of water?
64.
64.
8 ounce cups.
Okay.
Yeah. When we don't drink enough water, our liver kind of jumps in and says, let me help you detox. And your liver's job is to metabolize fat, body fat, triglycerides, and cholesterol. So if you don't drink enough water, you actually start storing body fat, cholesterol, and triglycerides.
I'm going to have a sip of water.
Drink some water. Yeah. So we all need at least 8 cups of water. And some people say, can I have sparkling water? You know, does tea count? Honestly, if you would bathe in it and you feel clean, then it can count as water.
Do you like electrolytes in your water?
I think we all need them.
But I like them.
If you like them and it gets you to drink water, great. Yeah. But do I think we need them? Not if we eat a variety of fruits and vegetables. Yeah. I mean, we get water in every grain and every fruit and every vegetable. But our American diet might be lacking. So have some electrolytes. And if somebody is using a scale, they should be checking their water to get it at least 50% of their body weight.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an important number to check. And then the last rule is to get 7 hours of sleep. And this became a rule. I didn't really make it so significant until COVID hit, when I realized none of my clients were sleeping. And the average American gets about 6.5 hours of sleep. And we have problems falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up feeling rested. And we cannot maintain our weight if we are not sleeping.
Well, yeah, and your cortisol levels spike.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't get at least 8 hours, I'm not well. And I really shoot for 9. And I've been like that my whole life.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a 7-hour nights. I'm 8 to 10. And I've just been like that my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's one of those funny things with my husband because I'm like, that's just a thing with me. You don't need as much sleep. I can't stay up.
I'm the same as you. Me too.
And when you pass that point of where you should fall asleep, then it's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. Because your body is a cycle and it thrives when you're consistent.
Yeah.
It really does. And so our melatonin is naturally released at the same time every day.
Mhm.
And if you miss that window, you override it, telling your brain to wake up.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard to fall asleep.
It reminds me of when the kids were babies. There was one book I loved the most, and it was all about sleep begets more sleep. Like, don't miss that window when your babies are telling you. They rub their eye, they yawn, whatever. Like by yawn 3, you're too late.
Yes.
And I was so compulsive about it, mostly because I knew how important my sleep was.
Yeah.
And so it's just how my brain has always worked. And I think at this stage in our lives, 40s, 50s, it's really hard. There's so many things impeding our sleep, not just outside triggers, but just your internal body changes. It's the worst. I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Thank God for progesterone and magnesium glycinate.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I do love supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some are necessary.
Yeah. So what I have found is that if you can follow all 6 of the rules at about 90% and you're trying to lose weight, you will lose between 1 and 3 pounds a week. Okay. If you're following the rules at 70%, you're staying the same weight.
Yeah.
If you're following all 6 rules at 60, you're actually gaining weight.
Mm. And what are your feelings about, just to go into a little bit, about when we talk about food, are you cutting out things that aren't real food? Like, are we cutting, I mean, I don't eat them, but mostly because of how we live our life. But like, I wouldn't include ding-dongs, are part of this.
Do they still exist?
I think they do. I've been to parts of the world where they do. And I'm like, that is just so gross. But, and my kids think I'm a, crazy person. And I grew up on soft batch cookies. on my way to soccer practice, I would have like 8 to 12 soft batch cookies. Yes. I'm pretty sure there was a piece of plastic in the middle that made them so soft.
Interesting.
I mean, it's just gross.
You're probably not wrong.
And I try to be pretty lenient, but err on the side of no.
Yeah.
And it happened in my house, really. But, all those things that have a 7-year expiration date are pretty much, I don't consider. But when you're talking about moderation and you're talking about eat foods that make you happy, I don't know anyone that eats a ding dong and feels good afterwards, but how do you bring that up with your clients, or if your clients bring that up with you?
That's exactly what you just said. So I really believe with every cell in my body that if you think it's bad, it is.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because our thoughts and our words are like wands.
Yeah.
This is such a huge belief of mine. So there may come a time in my life when I'm hungry and there is nothing to eat but a ding dong. And that ding dong will totally be okay. That is not going to be a problem for me.
Yeah. This isn't going to be a daily, multi-daily experience.
It's a non-issue. Would it make me fall asleep? Probably. Would I choose it on a regular day where I have to show up in life?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Is it going to be harmful to me? I mean, I grew up eating Taco Bell and soft batch cookies, like you said. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I believe.
And then, of course, Snackwells when that was the thing.
I mean, I think
there's nothing worse. Yeah.
Understand, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Those little cookies were amazing.
Amazing. And so awful. Yes.
I mean, it's only what you think.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe that we should believe that it is awful or bad. I think that we should trust ourselves that it knows how to get rid of chemicals. I mean, I find it so fascinating that people may not eat, a ding dong, so to speak, but then spray themselves with perfumes or, have candles going in their house. Like, we have chemicals everywhere.
Yes.
I mean, you and I just woke up to, LA and, we're still dealing with the fires from whenever they were.
Yeah.
And, like, they're in our air.
Yeah.
And so I do want to choose food that my body is going to feel good. I'm not going to choose to eat a ding dong today because I don't feel like I would feel good. And I need to really show up in life.
Yeah.
I want to show up and I want to have good quality sleep and I want to be my healthiest self in every moment. So I always do a forward and backward thinking of how will I feel if I eat this? But, for Father's Day, my daughter made a berry cobbler and my mom made lemon muffins. They weren't like something I really wanted, but I tried both of them and I didn't love them, so I didn't finish eating them. But I don't want to stop myself from eating whatever I want to eat. I just want to make sure I have enough of the things that make my body feel the best that they can.
Yeah.
Because stress comes from 3 different places. And if I'm physically uncomfortable from eating something, that stress is worse than the food I'm eating.
Oh, yeah.
So I need to make sure that I'm not stressed. I'm not creating a cortisol drip in my body and that I'm feeling safe around food.
Yeah. I could sit here with you forever. I think we might have to do a round 2 because I don't know, we could do a 3-hour.
Yeah.
Your book, This Is What You're Really Hungry For, is amazing. Thank you so much. I think the way that you are so intentional about working with your clients, I think your 6 rules, I don't even think rules is the right word because that is a trigger for some people, including me. Yes.
Actually on purpose.
Yes. But I think it's so, they're like life mantras. They're seemingly no-brainers, but some of those things that should be intuitive are not and need to be made to be rules. And I also think it can start really young. And I had the conversation with my 16-year-old boy. I'm like, you go out with your friends. I'm not telling you not to eat Cane's or Chick-fil-A when you're with them because you don't have to be that kid who's like, I only eat at home. But just be cognizant of what you're eating and how it makes you feel. And I love that that's a rule of yours. I feel so accomplished. But I think we owe it to ourselves to treat our body as best we can 90-ish% of the time.
Yeah. And I wonder if you do say to your son, if you eat this food and it doesn't make you sick, that's great. But if it does, maybe try having less of it or maybe try a different option.
Yeah.
The more that we say no, the more they're going to.
I trust me on all the things,
and 100%, all the things,
which is why I've tried not to. And I've tried to say, you're just now pretty healthy. Let's take this summer when you're home a lot, actually, to really nourish yourself and feel better. But I know I'm working with a 16-year-old boy and he's my 3rd. So I know it's, a grain of salt thrown in there. And that's okay too. And I do think one of the takeaways is everyone has to learn it on their own and everyone has to go through it and figure out where their lines are. And they usually have to do it by understanding what their body is telling them.
They have to want it more than they don't. And it's going to come down to, I want to feel one way more than I don't.
Yeah. And I like feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and we can't teach that to anybody. It has to be personal.
You can just help them.
Right, that's
guide
it.
them. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love this.
Me too.
To be continued, let's say.